All right. Well, welcome to our insider session for the power of remote managed services. You will see us shorten that to RMS throughout the slides, just a little bit of shorthand to make it a little bit easier for everybody. But we're extremely excited to have you today. Thank you for sharing some time with us. We've brought in a couple of fantastic experts. Chris, joining us all the way from Dallas, Texas, and Phil from York in the UK. And these subject matter experts, ladies and gentlemen, are going to share all kinds of knowledge with you about remote managed services, some of the different challenges that we have, and how Park Place can potentially help be your solution provider. Chris and Phil, do you mind giving yourselves a short introduction?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Chad. So Chris Croney, I started with IBM in 1989, where I spent 22 years and helped build IBM's global services organization. Since then, I've spent about 16 years in the third-party space.
And I joined the IT industry just over 25 years ago, starting not long after I left university. I've worked in a number of roles, beginning in technical sysadmin roles, looking after all aspects of the environments from networks to servers. Around the time when virtualization was being introduced, I now work in a technical sales leadership, embracing two of my big passions, talking mostly about technology and helping customers.
Extremely impressive. Thank you, guys. All right, as a quick agenda review, today we're going to talk a little bit about the challenges, and obviously many of you know this extremely well. Managing your infrastructure, updating and monitoring. It's a fast-moving freight train with all kinds of hurdles in your path, but we'll talk about those. We'll actually define remote managed services, or RMS, as we see it. We will talk about when does RMS make sense and when does it not, right? Every organization is different, every team's needs are different, and we'll walk through that a little bit. We'll also help you evaluate what to look for in a partner. Lastly, as we kind of close out the session, we'll talk about how Park Place can help you and some of our different platforms that we do support and solutions. Throughout this entire session, please use the chat, and enter any questions that you might have, any thoughts, concerns. We will address them a little bit as we go, but mostly at the end of the session. So please start to load up your questions and we'll let Chris and Phil leverage their expertise and answer those. All right, enough from me. I'm going to turn it over to Chris and Phil and on our way.
All right, terrific. So when I first started in the IT industry, IT professionals really had one job, and that was to keep the systems up and running and available when the business needed them. That's changed so much, and it changes more every single day and every single year. We're understaffed to do the things we need to do. All of our projects consume a tremendous amount of time, but they have an ROI to the business, so we have to apply focus to the projects, which makes it very difficult for us to get all the other things that we need to accomplish. And technology changes so fast, and we have problems with older technology and supporting newer technology. Keeping staff around that can do those things can be very, very challenging. So, Phil, what other challenges have you noticed in the environment?
I think you've touched on one of the big ones for my point of view. We've got the biggest rate of change at the moment in the IT industry, from the mainstream introduction of AI, relatively widespread adoption of containerization, just to name a couple of the new technologies which we're bringing in. That new tech, obviously, it needs vetting, it needs testing, possibly most important, training. Making sure that we've got the staff up to speed and being able to work on those sorts of technologies. But that also means that some of the older tech, the day-to-day management of the VMware or Exchange or networking, is fast becoming what I call the new Unix. And what I mean by that is the technical resources are getting rarer. Sysadmins are getting closer to retirement, dare I say, and there's little or no fresh blood coming in to replace them. I think the other big challenge as well is our customers are saying that their teams are trying to do more with less, and the complexity of their environments. So gone are the days of the single on-prem infrastructure, which is kind of where I started. Now it's the workloads are best placed for them. So that might be a software as a service solution for expenses. It might be public cloud for a website, or it could be any mixture of the above. And managing these on a day-to-day basis does not get any easier as time goes on.
We'll take a short break here and introduce our first poll question. We'd love to hear from everyone that's attending. What's your greatest challenging with your infrastructure, both on or off-prem?
Chris, do you want to answer the top one? It's come up on my screen. So the biggest answer, nearly half of the votes, is lack of observability and insights into the environment.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we hear constantly from clients, and I'm not surprised that this was the top, is we have a tool, but the tool's not tuned. We can't see everything we want to see. And we have 2 tools or 3 tools or 5, and we don't even really know what's real. So one of the ways that we address that is using our own tool that provides a single point of truth and the ability to see everything in the environment from one single pane of glass. And that is really valuable to most of our clients and to what we do. So Phil, what's number 2?
Number 2 is we're lacking internal skills and knowledge to maintain the infrastructure. Again, this is something kind of touched on already, and we're seeing it from time and time again. Businesses always want the latest and greatest. I've already touched on AI and containerization, but the teams are already stretched far too thin to be able to introduce the new things and not able to implement the technologies and the moving forward as businesses want to do.
Awesome, incredible insights, and obviously definitely appreciate your expertise, guys. Back to you.
So, Chris, do you want to help defining what remote managed services is?
Yes, thanks, Phil. So we break it down into 3 very simple buckets: watch, fix, and run. Watch is essentially going to address the thing we talked about as number 1 earlier. It's visibility and observability into the environment, right? So do we have monitoring tools, and do we have staff to monitor the tool? That's the watch phase, as well as a knock to pass tickets on for resolution. And then once the ticket is created, it enters the fix phase. The fix is doing the remediation, having the appropriate skills available 24/7 to resolve those issues and to keep the systems current through patching. Run is simply exactly what it says: provide 24/7 operations of the environment, administration, and make sure that everything is optimized and performing well. So Phil, any other comments around that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the key thing there is that word complement. Remote managed services works best when your business, for your business, sorry, when a partner is able to slot in to augment your stretch teams. It's not just simply a rip and replace solution. It's very much to help the internal teams to achieve their goals.
All right. So Phil, when does RMS make sense for a client to pursue?
I like to put this down to 3 very simple things: time, skills, and visibility. So time, maybe does your team have enough time in the day to be able to do all those business as usual activities which are needed to keep the lights on, but also run any of the projects at the side which you need to keep up with the opposition or to help generate revenue. It might also be talking about the time of day that the team is able to support. So do you need to be able to support your customers, both internal and external, on a 24/7 basis, or in various different parts of the world? And do you only have an 8 till 5 team? And then obviously you've got to worry about overtime. Skills is something that we've touched on already, and it's about whether you've got enough team members proficient in any of the required technologies to be able to support the business. It's very well having a lean team with maybe only one person knowing about the Unix box that's sat in the corner of the server room, but the general IT law states that this is going to go wrong when that one person is on holiday. Visibility is ensuring that you know what's going on in your environment. You've got the multiple tools, but can you correlate them all together to see what's going wrong? No one wants to be that person that walks in at 8 o'clock on a Monday morning, only for a line outside the IT office, and you don't even have a chance to get a coffee before people start complaining. And anything from you, Chris, on this? Yeah,
and Phil, I think it's really important to note that all 3 of these are important, but you don't have to have a need for all 3 of these to find an RMS solution, right? It could be something as simple as we don't have a skill for a single platform, or we don't have 24/7 coverage on our environment, or we don't have the way to see everything we need to see.
Absolutely.
So the more you have, the more it makes sense, but 1 is perfectly acceptable to go forward.
Our second poll here.
Yeah, So to me, it's not a big surprise that security comes top in this poll, just under half of the votes. It would be top of my list as well. Cyber attacks are all over the news these days. You can barely go a day without hearing about another big name that's been attacked. And you're attacked hard. Obviously, there's a major manufacturer in the UK that's been offline for 2 months because of a cyber attack. Ultimately, you guys are responsible for the security of the infrastructure, and do you really want to give the keys to the kingdom to someone else? So it is a big concern, but equally, the MSPs of this world providing the remote managed services are generally experts in that area. So hopefully you'll be able to trust them.
Yeah, and I see that. Oh, go ahead, Phil.
Go, Chris.
I was going to say number 2 is the anticipated partner cost. Right, we've all been in situations where we think we want to do something and then we get the price for it and it's way more than we anticipated. And that's probably because we have overscoped what we wanted to do. And, being able to define what needs to be done and correctly address that keeps the costs in line. All right, so once you've decided that you need to look at an RMS solution, how do you evaluate partners? And the first thing you have to do is determine what your need really is. What are you trying to solve by going to RMS? And once you've identified that, you need to look through partners and figure out, do they have the skills that are necessary to meet my need? Do they have the offerings that are available to meet my need? Do they have the tools that can see everything I need to see? And will their tool fit into my environment, seamlessly? And then the expertise of the teams that they provide is very, very key. What's the background of the teams? How long have they supported this equipment or these operating systems or the environments? What do they really bring to the table that can supplement and complement my staff in order to be able to get everything done? Phil, what are some other areas for evaluation?
I think you've covered a lot of the most important ones there, Chris, but the one that always draws me is value. A lot of people think of this purely as cost, but it's not. It's obviously cost is an important component of that, but value to me is things like improved efficiency, because the MSPs have that experience. It's the scalability to match your business as it grows or shrinks. It's the saving time in hiring new staff or scrambling to cover sick leave and holidays, etc. But yeah, cost obviously is a big part of the value. But many MSPs work on a shared resource model, allowing for that total cost as opposed to hiring the equivalent engineers. So now we're going to have a quick look at how Park Place is positioned to help many of our organizations. And we do help in various industries, in all sizes, all verticals. We've got a portfolio which matches the requirement for managing infrastructure for many of our organizations. We never claim to be able to handle everything for all people. And we obviously clearly delineate the areas of responsibility, but we do have capabilities across a wide range of OEMs, from Dell to Cisco to Microsoft to VMware and NetApp and many more. That portfolio is backed by our phenomenal team of engineering resource, many of which have come from the likes of VMware or Nutanix or Cisco. But we've also got a team of engineers who started life as L1s with us. They've worked their way up through the teams, up to L3s, and now they've got 10 years experience just with certain customers, which gives a fantastic insight and a great working relationship with many of the long-standing customers.
Yeah, and so Phil, complementing that, we provide our own tool, our Intuity tool, to do the monitoring to allow the visibility. And it's able to cross all 3 platforms between server, storage, and network. We also have industry accepted security protocols and designations. We are SOC 2 compliant and ISO compliant, and we meet all of the industry SLAs for SEV 1, SEV 2, and SEV 3. That's really how we measure ourselves as well, is how well did we meet the SLAs? And that's something we constantly measure. So Phil, how does that expertise and experience provide more uptime to the clients?
Well, you've obviously mentioned our monitoring tool. You've mentioned the SLAs, and with the monitoring solution that we've got in place, we now have over 1 million devices across the globe that are monitored on a 24/7 basis. And these are supported by our very, very own Park Place teams, the level 3 engineers. And now I find myself talking about value again. It's almost as if I'm passionate about it. We're able to maximize the staff efficacy by taking on the lower level activities, allowing your teams to focus on transformative projects, and we're able to handle a server down at 2 a.m. instead of your L3 waking up on an on-call and just clicking a button to restart it. There's a common expression, technical debt, which is basically the cost to maintain a system. If you're continuously implementing sticking plaster solutions to issues as they arise and don't address fundamental problems, that technical debt grows or accrues interest until such time that cost to resolve issues consumes all of your available budget, whether that's monetary or time. Then you're not able to do anything else. The opportunity of implementing the latest and greatest is past, and now you're behind the competitors. Allowing Park Place to assist with the BAU activities will obviously help to reduce that technical debt and reduce those lost opportunities.
All right, so we're going to go back and revisit something we talked about at the very beginning of our discussion today, and that's the watch, fix, and run. We've broken our services into 3 tiers that we call base, plus, and full, that mimic the watch, fix, and run. So base is really the watch category, and that's going to be 24/7 monitoring. Our Intuity tool does the monitoring in your environment. We triage, we look for incidents, we diagnose them, we open tickets, and then we dispatch if necessary, to the OEMs if it's a hardware problem, or to other software vendors. If you have a maintenance contract with them, we open up tickets. We do the full ticket management and escalation as part of the the watch category or the base. Now, layered on top of that would be the plus, and plus includes everything that's in base. But rather than reaching out to your team and opening a ticket in your system and saying, hey guys, you have a problem, it's going to be, you had a problem and here's what we did to resolve it. So the ticket goes to our level 2 and level 3 resources, who take care of the remediation, bring the system back up to a normal functioning standpoint. And in this phase, we also do patch management. So we're keeping the systems current and making sure that you have the most current patch levels. And then network configuration backup is also included in this. So we can do backup and restore of the network configuration. And then we'll have meetings on a periodic basis to go through what we found, what we've identified, and make possible recommendations. Now, the full support tier layer includes everything from plus and base. So you get the incident management from plus and base, but you're also going to get change and problem management in full. It includes the system administration. It includes the daily operational task, as well as performance utilization and optimization, so that we're keeping everything running as efficiently as possible. Now, one other thing that occurs in full really is major software release upgrades, right? So if you go from version 7 to version 8, we will perform that upgrade on your behalf. The purpose of full is to become a very responsive and complementary part of your team, and to be able to provide you with a hands-off approach to the operating environment on the systems that are covered. So Phil, what systems or what platforms do we support?
So Park Place is generally known for our hardware maintenance business, which is separated into 3 pillars of server, storage, and networking. And we like to maintain that consistency again across our portfolio for managed services as well. The slight difference is that when we're talking about managed services, we're not necessarily talking about the physical systems. What we're talking about is what's running on those the systems. So the operating systems such as Windows, Unix, Linux, hypervisors such as VMware, Hyper-V, and then over into the HCI space of Nutanix. With storage, we're looking at ONTAP on a NetApp FAS, for example, or Spectrum Virtualize on an IBM V7000. And then obviously with networking, we're looking at IOS running on Cisco, Junos running on a Juniper. And the networking estate, obviously I've mentioned Cisco and Juniper, but you see on the screen that there's a number of different vendors in there, and that is very much extended into to many of the smaller vendors as well. So we've talked about the complexities of managing the various locations of your workloads, and Park Place also has solutions to help with those above and beyond just the RMS elements which we've been talking about so far. And many people think of the RMS just for traditional on-prem infrastructure, but it can also be applied to anywhere in the cloud. We offer a private cloud solution which is based on IBM Power or x86 workloads across multiple data centers for resilience. We have public cloud services in either Azure or IBM Cloud. And we've had many conversations over the past year or so, ever since the disruption of Broadcom, where customers are looking to avoid the unbudgeted subscription costs that they're being faced with. On-prem colo replacements with a different solution, such as a Nutanix, is absolutely viable solution for many of the organizations. But a number of customers are looking at maybe changing to an OpEx model and looking for a cloud-based solution. So that's obviously very attractive to a number of people that we're talking to. Included in our private cloud are backup or data protection as a service and DR as a service, potentially removing the requirement for a second data center within your environment, or the daily tasks of changing backup or checking backups and changing tapes. And obviously security is still top of the mind for nearly every customer that we talk to, and it will come as no surprise that everything that we do has this cybersecurity wrapper around it to reduce that risk to both ourselves and most importantly to you.
All right, and as we begin to close out here, let's go back to the visibility. That was the number one thing that came up as a challenge. Our Intuity tool is what we deploy out to do the monitoring in the environment. Intuity is an enterprise class remote management monitoring and performance observability platform. One of the things that's very different about what Parkplace does is we're going to give you access to the tool so you can see the exact same things that we see. You can log into the tool, you can drill down to a specific device, you can look at ports, you can look at disk space, you can see everything, get historical data, even use it for capacity planning as well. So you have access to not only the tool, but all of the dashboards. Intuity comes with about 300 dashboards and reports straight out of the box, but we can create customized dashboards or reports specifically for what it is that you want to see. The dashboards are real time and live, and so you can look at information, instantly and see what's happening. The reports can be generated. So let's say that you wanted to know what happened on the network overnight. There could be a report that arrives in your inbox every Monday through Friday morning at 8 a.m. So it's right on top and you can get a real view of what happened during the day. Now, once the tickets are created, they go into our service portal, Central Park. If you are a maintenance client of ours, you're probably very familiar with Central Park. It's all handled in the same ticketing system. So you can see every ticket, you can see the tracking of the ticket, who's touched it, and get a real feel for where we are in the process. Now, from a ticketing standpoint, we do have the capability using bidirectional APIs to communicate with our client's ticketing system. So if you're a ServiceNow client, a ticket that's opened in our Central Park system will also open in your Snow instance. And all the changes will also be updated. When the ticket is closed, it will be updated. Now, you can also open a ticket with us in your Snow system, and it will open in our Central Park system for things like changes, how-to questions. Hey, I need to get this done. What do we do? So it's a bidirectional process. And now we also, on our quarterly business reviews, these are very important because it allows us to share data we found with our clients. So we can make recommendations and say, hey, would you consider doing these 2 or 3 things? It'll increase your uptime or increase your performance and your viability. So Phil, what do you want to tie all this together?
I find it amusing because you're showing one of my favorite dashboards there. I was talking to someone recently about how they frequently got an outage in one of the remote locations when the weather gets bad with heavy rain, and we've got our rain map on there, which is it's an embedded map. Obviously, their NOC notices the outage, not sure of the reason. They spend time investigating. With this embedded weather map on the top right there, they would be able to see the storm over a specific location and know what's going on. Obviously, saving time for them just by one of the dashboards. But I think one of the biggest things about Intuity that I love is it is an integral part of Parkplace, but an integral part of our managed services, which means that we have the flexibility because we've got the intellectual property behind it. we can talk to our development team about new features, and we can ask for changes in the roadmap so we can bring the value to our customers a lot quicker than potentially using a third-party tool. So, Chad, have you had a couple of questions come in?
A couple pre-questions that came in for the meeting. Can you help us understand the ability for Parkplace to mix and match different service levels across different technology platforms and types? Can you guys address that one?
Yeah, so Phil, I'll take that one. So we can absolutely do mixing and matching across the tiers or platforms. And even within a platform, right? You can have certain systems that are on Plus, certain systems that are on Base, and certain systems that are on Full, and they might all be Windows environments. Windows Server. You can have your network on Full and your VMware on Plus and your storage on Base, right? So we do have the ability to mix and match those things all across the different platforms and service levels for the enterprise.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. Another pre-session question here is related to around IBM PowerBox age of the equipment. What are the different solutions? Can you migrate technology to the cloud? What are our different opportunities to address aging IBM Power equipment?
So that's one close to my heart. I used to run an operation with an 11-year-old Unix system sat in the corner. Everyone was petrified about touching it because no one really knew anything about it. And a nice, easy solution would be to potentially migrate that to the cloud. It doesn't necessarily matter how old the box is. It's all related to what's running on there. Is the operating system compatible with slightly later to workloads, etc. In most cases, we never have a problem migrating over to one of our clouds, and we can run it as an OpEx model and potentially save that hardware refresh.
Okay, there's a question coming in here. I just asked Logan to maybe expand on his question a little bit. The question reads, are there any scope of first level help desk / user support or mostly server / network / storage platform?
Okay. Yeah, so our support is really tied around the data center and the operating environment in the data center. So it is going to be server, storage, and network devices. We really don't get into anything in the end user space or provide help desk services to end users.
We do offer, maybe, Chris, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit about our software technical support. I don't know if that it's a slightly different solution, but might be a little bit more of where Logan was going.
Yeah, so our software technical support is really outside of our RMS. It is something that can be tied to specific pieces of equipment with software running on it. And what it does is it allows our clients to open tickets and ask questions about the software, very similar to what you would do with a software support agreement from VMware, right? Hey, I'm having this problem. I can't seem to figure out how to solve it. What do we do? Or if I change these 3 configuration settings, what happens to my overall performance on my environment? So technical support is available on most of the platforms and operating environments that we do cover, but it is a separate thing from the RMS solution.
Yeah, I believe, Logan, if I'm understanding your question properly, I think the software technical support is a little bit more that help desk and user support that you might be inquiring about. Okay, one more here. As we're monitoring environments, obviously everyone, again, you saw the earlier polls about security and protection for their environments. Can you guys walk us through a little bit of how Intuity connects to their environment, the monitoring functionality, and maybe even do we deploy agents? How does that work? Maybe you could walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So Intuity is, we call it an agentless solution. So there's nothing that needs to be installed on the switches, on the servers, etc. What we do is deploy a virtual appliance within the environment that's going to be monitored. So that all that we need is access from that virtual appliance to everything else within the environment. That connects back to our central location, which is hosted in Azure over HTTPS. So we're able to access the dashboards from our central Azure appliance. In terms of access into environments, our preferred method is Beyond Trust Remote Access, or BOMGAR as it was previously known. This gives us a full auditable account of who's accessed what and when. And that's tied back into our HR system, so we can automatically disable logins as soon as anyone leaves the organization to enhance that security. We do appreciate that a lot of customers have their own remote access methods, and obviously we can work with you to try and understand what works best for you as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Any additional questions from our audience here and our attendees? We're happy to stay on and answer more. New question just came in. Are there more details about the public cloud offering scope and pricing associated?
Pricing is very much on a case-by-case basis. It depends very much on the workload, depends on the size of the machines, etc. But obviously, we're more than happy to have that conversation. In terms of details, we operate in Azure, we operate in IBM public cloud, and these are, as you would expect, pretty much virtually all of the services that are available in all of those solutions or those platforms. We can run, we can operate, and we can manage that for you. Would love to have a further conversation with you, William, to understand a little bit more about your requirements.
Well, obviously, number one, we appreciate everyone that took time out of their day to visit with us. Greatly appreciate the fact that you're interested in learning a little bit more about remote managed services. And secondly, of course, Chris and Phil really can't have pulled this off without your expertise and your thoughts. So thank you once again for sharing your knowledge with all of us.
Thanks,
Just
Sean.
remember, for everyone that did attend the webinar, we're happy to follow up if you would like a free evaluation. We can connect you with our local service representation, and we can take a look at your environment. And again, maybe there's situations where remote managed services make sense as a solution, and there could be instances where it does not. But either way, we're happy to give you a free evaluation and explore a little bit further with you.